One of the things we want to do is you've been great about breaking down the mapping and analysis of everything. And so
Yes.
we're going to pull up some of your tweets. You can walk us
Oh,
through
sure.
kind of
Sure.
what this meant and what you've seen. So let's pull the first one up there, Austin. Hopefully everyone can see it. Yeah, talk us through what you saw here and why this was interesting.
So I can't actually see it right now. Which slide are we talking about? I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. Let's figure this out. Hopefully you can see it, right? Louisiana
Let's.
runoff showed how red most of the bayou has become. The coastal parts of
Oh, yes.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
butcher your name, Terrebonne and Lafourche
Yeah,
counties,
yeah,
parishes.
that's actually Lafouche. So yeah, basically what I was trying to get at with this one is, yeah, we talk a lot about how, like anywhere else, the urban areas are trending bluer. But if you look at some of the areas along the coast, like Acadiana, these two, I thought this pair of parishes was instructive because the southern parts of Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes used to be safe for a type of Democrat like John Bell Edwards, Mary Landrieu, even. And if you look at these two, I didn't include the map in this specific one, but if you look at how Mary Landrieu did there in 2014, she lost them by about the same margin Edwards did last time. So what I was kind of showing you there is kind of how some other, compared to an election like the 2014 Senate race, some parts of the state have moved bluer, but some of the redder parts really haven't come along.
Gotcha. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Can we go on to the next slide? Break it down a little bit more for us. So
Okay, okay, yeah.
go ahead.
So yeah, basically with this one, what I was showing is turnout was across the board, was up basically everywhere across the board. Edwards, he only was generally up slightly. He only really outright lost votes in Acadiana and kind of the southwestern part of the state, has which I would, as I often describe on Twitter, it's basically the most ancestrally Democratic part of the state. He actually lost votes in a lot of the purple parishes in the southwestern part of the state. Now, you look at Eddie Risponi, how he did in terms of raw votes compared to David Vitter. There was this kind of area on that map on the right where a lot of those parishes are the darkest shade of gold, meaning he got, a pretty good vote increase over David Vitter last time. There were a few parishes of Royal Evangel which are, have pretty historically been friendly to blue dogs like Edwards. Risponi was able to double the number of raw votes that David Vitter got in these parishes. So I think that what we saw with Edwards in 2015 in some of these parishes, he was able to kind of briefly bring back into the Democratic fold. But as the electorate expands, as we cast more votes, some of these areas take on more of a presidential type of character, which I think helped Risponi in a lot of these rural areas.
Gotcha. Are you gonna say Podcool?
Well, no, I just had a question for Miles.
Sure.
I know Louisiana doesn't. And correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't release early vote or ABEV count by precinct, only by parish. Is that correct?
They're doing some. I think with this last cycle, they just started to do it down to the precinct level. The reason why I haven't really got into it at that level is it's still somewhat of a pain in the butt because they release it by precinct, but it'll be of a PDF of every parish. So it's a, and if especially if they're updated every day, it's a little bit of a pain to have to go in and convert all of these PDFs. Now, if they did it in a, if they had a type of Excel sheet, I would probably look more into that. But short answer is, yeah, they just started to, but it's not in a great format.
Got it. Are there like any major lessons that we should be able to draw from some of the ABEV vote? Because I know at the top you were kind of discussing comparing it to earlier years, and I'm just wondering how 2019 looked compared to other ABEV votes in Louisiana.
Yeah, it's what one of the things I thought was interesting is that it was somewhat of a reversal from 2015, because Edwards in 2015, he got 56 overall. In the early vote, he got close to 60. On election day, he got 54, so they kind of averaged out. This time, Edwards actually did better on election day. He got about 50.9% of the early vote, if I'm remembering that correctly. And on election day, he got 51.3 or something like that. So I think, I thought that was an interesting kind of, well, maybe as early voting, this was 2019 saw the highest non-presidential amount of early voting in the state's history. And maybe as early voting becomes more popular, it'll perhaps mirror the election day breakdown more and more.
Makes sense. Moving on to the next slide.
Okay, yeah.
You want to break down this one for us? Yeah.
Yes. So basically, this is East Jefferson Parish. This is basically the area where I kind of grew up. And what's funny to me is, like, historically, this was the when the Republicans first started becoming competitive in Louisiana back in the 70s, 80s. This was like their base region. East Jefferson Parish specifically has the large suburb of Metairie. This has, it's given us some pretty high-profile national politicians like Steve Scalise is from here, David Vedder is from here. So historically, this has been the kind of launching pad for a lot of statewide Republicans. And now in these contested statewide races, it's basically a swing region. Now, granted, the generic Democrat isn't going to do as well as Edwards did here, but I thought that these types of shifts here were very telling. In 2008, Mary Landrieu got 44% of the vote here, and that was, at the time, for a Democrat, that was like amazing. She had a big kind of bump there because of the work she did on Hurricane Katrina, the recovery efforts there. So she got a lot of good press around that. But even with that kind of extra bump there, she still lost it by 10 points. So I thought it was very telling that Risponi held it, but it was basically a tie.